everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's Currie Cup Round 7 review. Looking back at the Currie Cup, I think we can all agree it's going to be one of the most unique Currie Cups we've ever seen because of various games being cancelled, some massive upsets, a table which doesn't make a lot of sense, and a lot of results which don't make a lot of sense. And I think quite a few big sort of question marks and red flags regarding the performances of some of our what we consider, our premier unions, particularly the likes of the Lions, and to a certain degree the Western Province as well. Not really looking good for the United Rugby Championship. I think one thing we can agree on, though, is that the Bulls continue to be, sort of the shining light and the dominant force within SA Rugby. Before we look at what happened over the past week, as well as look at the current table and stuff like that, please do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. In terms of the Currie Cup this week, we'll obviously have you as many press conferences and stuff as we can get into. We'll be doing previews of all the matches this weekend. We are hoping to try and be live for as many matches as possible. And so we'll let you know exactly what those games will be later on this week when we have a final sort of idea of our schedule. But in terms of last week, and this is what we saw in the results, which I think was sort of capped off by a very, very impressive victory by the Greeks. But it all started on Friday when the Sigma Lions, who on the back of a thrashing, 40 points to 21 lost to the Bulls, a game where the Lions came back in the second half and looked much better. They really, really struggled against the Pumas, and they were doing quite well, and it all just sort of fell apart. And you've got to sit there wondering, what is going on with this union? Why is it that they can't just get over the line? Because we're seeing a side which puts in sort of 20-minute performances or half-an-hour performances, but just keep letting it slip. That is the second game they have lost to the Pumas the entire tournament. The Pumas have done the double on the Sigma Lions, who have also been beaten by the Griquas. So when you think of a tournament where you're going to get, 12 games, to lose 3 of them against the Griquas and Pumas is not ideal, because you're thinking you've got to target those teams. You've got to target the Griquas, the Pumas, and even to a certain extent the Cheetahs. And you've got to think, right, out of the the 6 games there, we've got to be winning 5 or 6 or at least minimum 4. But you can't be at the moment. They can only win a maximum of 4. So it really has not been a good start to things at the Lions. But equally, the Western Province also getting outplayed by the Bulls. And then the Greek was with a phenomenal performance on Saturday, where they beat the Chelsea Sharks 37 points to 27, despite, they had 5 yellow cards, and they still managed to beat the Sharks. So, this is what I'm saying. We were talking about our premier unions all kind of being shown up and all kind of be looking very, very vulnerable, and they're definitely called into question, whereas the Bulls continue to just sort of be a bit of a shining light, really. And the only game they've in fact lost the entire tournament was a game when they had their entire squad over in Italy playing in the Rainbow Cup final, and yet their sort of club side, reserve side, still managed to salvage a bonus point against the Western Province in that opening round 5 or 6 weeks ago. So it really has been a very strange Currie Cup, and I think that we can all agree that it's probably not a clear reflection of exactly what's going on. I think that there are certain games which will cancel or draws, which I think could have gone either way and could have been quite big opportunities for certain sides to sort of jumped on. I think that, having, like, for example, the Sharks, who've had 3 games cancelled, and as a result, they've sort of got 12 points off the bat for not, playing a single minute of rugby is not ideal in a tournament sense. But if we look at the log and how things are sort of starting to shape up, it's the Bulls on top with 28 points. Now, the Sharks are in second with 25 points. But the big thing there, you can see the Sharks are in second, and yet they've won only 2 matches. They've only won 2 games, have the Sharks, and they find themselves in second place because of the whole ruling about the riots, as well as the British and Irish Lions tour, and the fact that 4 points were being awarded for games that were not played. But the Greeks, on the other hand, are worth every single one of their 24 points. They've won 4 matches, including beating the Western Province, beating the Sharks, and beating the Lions. So you think that the 3 matches of those, coming against really, really big opposition, they are really, really playing well at the moment. Just 2 losses. But those 4 wins are very impressive, and good on the Greeks, because we need these sides to do better. And we keep talking about the fact, we had this conversation, I think it was back in April, where we talked about the fact that South Africa Rugby needs to do more to get the Griquas and the Pumas and the Cheetahs competitive. Now, they are competitive at the moment, but I think you do probably have to sit there and think that when all the Springboks come back, I think the Sigma Lions can't really complain about much, but all those sides do get a lot better. The Sharks and the Western Province get a lot better. The Sharks will welcome back a whole new backline, literally, bar number 10, an entire backline. In Jane Henderson's now back in the box squad, but Lakanyo and Yao Penkle and Apelele Fassi and Spirin Corsi and Michael Zuma Pimpi, they could formulate an entire backline pretty much with what they are currently lost at the box, as well as, Oxenchair, Thomas Toy, Sia Khaleesi. They've got so many players missing that you can sort of sit there thinking, they've got a lot of players coming back. So this isn't maybe the truest reflection of the Sharks. Equally, the Western Province, I think, are missing about 6 or 7 players as well. But, for the Lions, they're currently sitting in 6th place, 16 points, 4 losses, just the 1 victory. That victory actually coming over the Western Province. So, of those 4 losses, Bulls, Pumas times 2, Griquas, it's not good enough. And you've got to start thinking that heads might have to start rolling in that Lions setup. Because, first of all, I think you look at the signings they're making and they're not really good enough, as well as the sort of the coaching staff. A lot of questions about Ivan van Rooyen. The Pumas are currently in 4th place. They've got 20 points. They've won 3 games, of which 2 came against the Lions. They've also lost 3. And they've only had the 1 game, which didn't happen. So, they could sneak a semi-final place as well, but they've still got a lot to do. For the Western Province, they've got 3 victories, no draws, and lost 4 times. You've got to start wondering, they're losing to the Griquas, which wasn't great. Losing to the Lions side, which I think they'll look there and thinking, how did we let that happen? So it hasn't been a fantastic start for the Western Province either. They just scraped past the Sharks in that 3rd round. And then the biggest victory came against the Bulls, 48-24, in that opening round. But as I said, it was very much a Bulls second side. So the Western Province currently in 5th, and the Lions, and then the Cheetahs have still got a game in hand. So if they were to win that game, they can go up to sort of 18 or 19 points. They will not be playing. This weekend they will be playing on. They'll be playing on Saturday against the Western Province. So quite a big match for both the Western Province and the Cheetahs. Because if the Western Province were to win, they can catapult themselves to 21, 22 points, and suddenly the Cheetahs find themselves sort of 6 or 5 points adrift from, the top 5, let alone the top 4. But if they do win that game, then suddenly they can find themselves sitting, 1 point away from potentially being within the top 4. So a very, very interesting week as we sort of we're past the halfway stage. So now it becomes sort of the crunch time. And for the Lions, they're going to have to win all 5 of their last games if they want to try and sneak into that top 4. And, we needed to see Bulls, Sharks, Western Province, and Lions in the top 4 because we need to have that sort of confidence in United Rugby Championship. And now, at the moment, it kind of begs the question, were SA Rugby right to back these sides? And I think they were, in theory. I think if you look at what these sides have done over the past 10 years or the past 5 years, they were the right sides to back. I mean, the sides who have been performing the most poorly in recent times have actually been the Western Province and the Bulls. And the Bulls suddenly have turned things around immediately. The Western Province have got, the potential to turn things around. I think the Sharks are making lots of big moves, but the Lions find themselves in a very, very dark space at the moment. And something's going to need to change within that union to try and sort things out. In terms of the fixtures, so the Griquas will take on the Lions on Friday at 2:30 in Kimberley. The Lions, it's a non-negotiable. If they can go and get a win or a bonus point win, they could actually go in finish the weekend in 4th place if the right results go their way. A bonus point win suddenly takes them to 4th place, 3 points behind the Griquas. So they have to go all out. This is the last easier win in theory in terms of what you would think before the start of the competition for them. On Friday night, Bulls versus the Sharks, and it'll be a Bulls side without the likes of Johan Grobbelaar, who's been called into the box squad, which I think is quite a big loss. 2 man of the match performances from him, but I mean, we're seeing all the Bulls players that they've brought in doing the job. Marcel Coetzee, Alwick Lowe, Lionel Mapu, Johan Goosen. All the players they've brought in are making such a big difference, and they're showing all the other sides that if you do get the investment right and you've got the right coach in your setup, it's very, very easy to turn things around very quickly. And I think that can hopefully be a bit of a blueprint or a sort of formula for the other sides to try and adapt and copy, because we need to see the Lions and the Western Province doing a similar thing. Saturday, we'll see the Western Province take on the Cheetahs at 2:30, as I said, and then we will have a full midweek round next week. On Wednesday, it'll be the Pumas versus the Sharks, the Bulls taking on the Griquas, and the Cheetahs taking on the Lions. So the Lions, for all they've been really, really poor, have got 2 massive weeks where not even 2 massive weeks, 10 days where they could flip this Currie Cup on its head. 2 bonus point victories against, for example, the Griquas and the Cheetahs. 10 points can take them up to 26th, which when you think that would deny the Griquas a point, and the Griquas playing the Bulls next week, so you think they probably might not get anything out of that, and you think the Pumas are taking on the Sharks and are not playing this weekend, if the Lions want to try and qualify, they've got to finish these next two games with 2 bonus point victories, because they didn't take on the Bulls on Saturday, the 14th of August. For the Western Province, in terms of the way they need to try and find their way into the top 4, first of all, they're going to have to get past the Cheetahs this weekend, and then they've got a bye next week, and they'll be back in action against against the Pumas on Sunday, the 15th of August. So a bit of time for them. But I mean, from a neutral's point of view, to see the Griquas and the Pumas doing well is exactly what we want to see from South Africa rugby. And it's exactly what we want to see as fans. So hopefully it continues to be really competitive. But let me know what you thought of this Currie Cup so far. Smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We have to wait and see exactly what happens in terms of the way this competition will unfold. But it could be a very interesting situation where if as things stand, we could only have 2 United Rugby Championship sides in that top 4. And the Cheetah side, for all the people could be saying, should have been backed or deserved to be backed ahead of some of the other side. If they don't find their feet and sort of win that game in hand and get things back on track, imagine them finishing last. As I said, if this table sits like it is, it looks really, really bad for SA Rugby. And I think that lots need to change in a lot of these unions. But at the same time, from an entertainment point of view, it's very, very good to see these other sides competing and becoming quite a valuable part in the competition itself. But yeah, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you guys all very soon.